Welcome to the calculator guide for Module 15 Part 2. In this section I will show you how to do step 3 of a hypothesis test, calculating the test statistic and the p-value in one simple step in your calculator. For this video I'm going to go ahead and go through the 3 examples that we did in the video notes. So if you want to pull those up, now would be a good time to pause this video and do that. So the first example we looked at was looking at the proportion of Americans that smoke. So to do step 3, steps 1, 2, and 4 you still have to do on your own, but to find the values for Z and the probability, you're going to start by hitting stat. You're going to arrow 2 times over so that you're in the list of tests. And then you want to arrow down to number 5. 1 prop Z test, which means we have one proportion, so one population proportion that we're looking at. We're not comparing groups, and we're doing a hypothesis test. So go ahead and hit enter. It's going to ask you for 4 things. The first thing is, what is the value equal to in your null? So our null is equal to 0.2 for this problem because 20% of people smoked in 2010. The second thing it wants to know is, what is X? How many people from your sample smoked? 76 people smoked in our sample. And then how many people were in your sample, your N value? We had 400 people. And then this last value is, what does your alternative look like? Is it a two-tailed test? Is it a left-tailed test? Or is it a right-tailed test? This example was a left-tailed test, so I'm going to go ahead and choose the value with the less than sign. And then I'm going to hit calculate. So here we see our proportion is less than 0.2. This should match what you have in your alternative. Just think of this as P instead of proportion. Less than 0.2. Your Z score, negative 0.5. And this P value here is the probability. And this matches what we found when we did the calculation by hand. This also gives you P hat, the sample proportion. So now from here, you could write down, okay, Z equals negative 0.5. My P value, the probability, is 0.3085. So is my P low? And that's going to be based on whatever your alpha was. Okay, so let's look at the second example. Do this again. The second example was looking at the proportion of students that are prepared for college algebra. So I'm going to go ahead and hit clear just to get rid of the previous stuff. I'm going to hit stat. I'm going to arrow over to tests. And I'm going to go to the 5th option, which I can get to quickly by just hitting the number 5. And it pulls me straight into that 5th option. So now for the second example, our null hypothesis was equal to 0.5. Our survey resulted in 289 students prepared for college algebra out of 500 total surveyed students. And this was a right-tailed test. So 0.5, 289, 500, greater than, calculate. So again, here this first line should match with your alternative, P greater than 0.5. Here is your Z score, 3.4883. Here is your P value. Notice 2.4, ooh, something must be up. A probability cannot be bigger than 1. So come over here to the end and look and see if it's in scientific notation. which it is, e to the negative 4, which means you have to move the decimal 4 places to the left and fill in with zeros. And then our p-hat value. So you can use this and then go to step 4 and determine whether you should reject or not reject based on this p-value and the stated alpha or level of significance in your problem. So last example, I'm going to hit clear again. This time we are looking at the percent of people that talk to their animals over the phone. So I'm going to hit stat. I'm going to arrow over to tests. This list of tests is going to become your saving grace. I am not kidding, it really is. Option number 5. So now our null was equal to 0.45. Our survey resulted in 63 pet owners that talked to their pets out of 150 total people surveyed. And this was a two-tailed test, so we want the not equal to symbol. And I'm going to come down and I'm going to hit calculate. So again, the first line matches with our alternative, p is not equal to 0.45. Z is negative 0.7385, which matches what we found. Rounding is a little bit different. Okay, I may have just rounded wrong. Our p-value 0.4602, which matches the probability we had after we multiplied by 2. So after we said, okay, the first probability we found, the 0.2301, that only considered the less than. That only considered one of the options. But we have to consider the probability that the number we got could have been too big as well. So we multiplied by 2, and this is what we got. So then we can take that and compare and determine whether or not we should reject or not reject our null hypothesis. So you may use this in your homework, classwork, final exam in place of doing everything by hand. I show you the by hand so you understand what's going on, and then I show you this so that you can save some time, some headache, some effort. Okay? So that is it for this set of notes.